What is everybody? Welcome back to Truth and Transparency. This is the Idaho4 inventory of all vehicles that are pertinent. 12:55 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. And we're going to compare it to then the Discovery interviews. I'm going to do it right in front of your guys' face. You're going to see the brains work. Okay. Give a shout out to me and my boy Mark B. Ring-a-ling-a-ling. Me and Mark B worked on this for, it was not last night, but the night before, all the way until like 3 in the morning. We put in about 3 or 4 hours. Now, the reason this is significant, Harris, significant, is because we have a bunch of interviews that were taking place after the killings, and people said, you know, where they were, how they got home, what time they thought they got home, things like that. Okay. And we have people that lived in the area. We had people dropping people off in the area. We had people, quote unquote, delivering DoorDash. We had Uber drivers, sober drivers. So hold on one second. We are on holiday break. Okay, back at it. Here we go. So, if you guys saw the description of this video, I want to point out that it was imperative for me to look into all the vehicles that came in and can be seen on 1112 cam. And what I have for you guys is I've compiled a list. Okay. We have 26 entries. Okay. 26 entries. How this works is, as you can see right here, it would be the time in, which means when the 1112 cam, starts to see a vehicle, and then how long it takes for that we know we have eyes on that vehicle, and that's the same vehicle that's then leaving. Okay. You're going to see where the different entries, when they come in, that we cannot assign and say that that's the same car that then would have left. You're going to see, and if you've been watching the 1112 camera, that's where a lot of the information is coming. But we cross-referenced with Linda Lane, both Linda Lane cameras, and cross-referenced with the FBI report, that 52-page report that Hill did. It's kind of like the Brian Drake case for me in a way. They started at a specific time when they went ahead and did their spreadsheet in this case. And when I say they, the FBI, and they started their spreadsheet at basically the time of 3:26 a.m. Okay. And that was with the Indian Hills. All right. And so they basically tracked stuff from 3:26 a.m. And went to 4:20. Okay. Well, ours starts at 12:55, and it would actually start, if we had the video, it would actually start a little earlier, because we would want to follow every movement if we could with the Explorer. So basically, I'd want to see Ethan leaving 111 or 11122 with that Explorer because he drove it that night. So did it leave King Road because he drove to go pick people up to then go to Hunga Dunga Brewery? Or did he have to walk, get that car from somewhere because it was his sister's car? Why wouldn't he, if he's at the 1122 King Road house? I'm telling you why he couldn't take the Jeep Wrangler is because there's not enough room. They put basically 7 or 8 people in a car, and that needed the third, I call it the third row seats. You have the 2 up front, then you have the back, and then the newer SUVs, you could flip up and you could actually have seats in the third row. And they needed that to be able to put everybody in a car. That's why I believe the Explorer was taken. Okay. So, but the time in, the time out, then just the description that we've given it, and then what witness interview most, like, because that's just how the cops would have done it. You're going to be accounting for all of these things. There is a couple things that I will mark down that don't deal with per se a vehicle, but it deals with, like, on the 1112 cam, when there's a guy that comes up to the door in a book bag. There's a girl leaving, things like that. So I wanted to do this with all of you guys in front so that you guys could see when I show a spreadsheet, you're going to understand the methodology behind it. So that way you can understand it when I would be using it to talk about something in a video. So you're going to have to just trust me here, because I'm not going to go back and forth to show you guys the clip with it, but I have everything wrote down, okay, and time stamped so you can check my work. What I mean by that is when I say at 12:56 and 55 seconds, this is going to be number 1 here. There's a vehicle on Walenta, okay, that turns around after it was going south. And the reason this is important to note is because what they want to say Brian Culver's vehicle was doing, they're making it seem like nobody else's vehicle did that all night. Well, here at 12:56 and 55 seconds, okay, there is a vehicle that you can see on the 1112 cam, just like the FBI used, where a vehicle is heading south, okay, away from campus, and then does this like turnaround and comes then back, heading to school. So I have timestamps here, and that's going to actually be number 1. So, and again, the reason that's important is because you're going to sit here and try to say that a vehicle never did that. So to be specific, I will go with 12:56 and 55 seconds to 12:57. And it's just the now, number 2 that's significant is at 1 o'clock and 27 seconds. A car comes in and drops off. A car pulls in at 1119 driveway and drops off. And we believe that that's one of the, so. Okay. And it heads out right afterwards. It's in there for like 26 seconds. Next is at 1 o'clock and 53 seconds. There's this blinker car. So we're going to put that in. And then it leaves. The number 4 is, this is the pizza delivery. Okay. And they make a whole loop. So at 1:02 and 34 seconds. It takes about 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get through. So it's like 1:04:10. So right now, the purpose of this, you're going to see right here, we're able to say that every car that's come in has gone out. Well, the U-turn car that's back there, it actually never comes in, but you guys know why that's pertinent. But the 1119 drop off leaves. The blinker leaves. The pizza delivery car, in and out, leaves. Okay. What's significant, okay, is that when we were going through all of this, I said, when's the first time a vehicle leaves without a vehicle entering? Okay. When's the first time a vehicle just leaves from the area without anybody coming to the area, like a car? And we're not able to do that until at 2:29 and 11 seconds. Okay, 2:29 and 11 seconds. And that's the 18th entry where a Dodge Caravan is leaving, exiting King Road. And it came down from the alley next to the house. So think about all of that. Like, and that would make sense because in a college town, anybody that's coming back in that area towards the end of a night, it's because you're spending the night over that way. You know, you're coming back to your house. Not too many people would be up and leaving. There would have to be a significant reason for that. So somebody, without coming to that area, like you're not dropping somebody off to then leave. So the first time that happens is at 2:29, 11 seconds, and it's a Dodge Caravan leaving. And we're going to get into if that could potentially tie in to Molly McMichael. Now, as we're doing this, after the pizza delivery car, that's number 4. There was no witnesses, interviews. Anybody said that they ordered a pizza that night. Okay. But I bet you there is actually an interview where somebody, you know, because remember, Molly said that she came back there 2 times before that last time. And we're going to show you how this is absolutely wild that she's claiming this. Let me get back to my lovely worksheet here. Okay. All right. Oopsies, wrong side. I got my notes everywhere. All right. Number 5 here is that SUV enters Queen. 3 people get out and walk to 1127. And that's at 1:04 and 42 seconds. Whoopsies. Again, that's an SUV. Enters King and drops 3 people off at 1127. And this car's there for like a minute and then leaves. So all right. At 1:10 and 36 seconds, number 6 here is a small SUV. That's how we see it, but we can be persuaded otherwise. 1:10 and 36 seconds. Small SUV. And it goes to, enters King, drives to 1127 area, and then 16 seconds later backs up. And it's we can't see anybody get in and get out because it goes past the camera, but the car is there for 59 seconds total. I personally think that somebody got out. We just couldn't see it. It's just not on camera, though, because it goes past too far. And then the way that people leave the area, and this is significant, this is important, is when you're pulling in back there and they drive back to where Jack D lives, a lot of the people will pull up like, straight on, and then they reverse and go backwards, and then they pull like a kind of like a 3-point turn reverse style because it pulls back into towards like if you're going to be going past the house, and then straightens themselves out and then goes forward to like leave the area. That's how people in that area, if they're driving back to where Jack D's house is, they usually then just reverse to then back to back out, which makes sense. That tells me that there's cars in all the driveways. Okay. And it tells me that there's cars on all the sides, and that's your best bet, because trying to do an Austin Powers move, like, no thanks. But it also tells you that people that are doing that are familiar with, like, that they're used to doing it. Somebody that's doing it another way. Okay. Well, from what I've watched, and Mark B's watched, we've had this conversation that's going to be somebody that's doing it a different way than that is somebody that's not usually driving back there. Okay. Again, that's our take. Okay, just making this as big as possible. Okay, so the number 7 car. I mean, this is every single entry at 1:13 and 18 seconds. Okay, so 1:13 and 18 seconds. We have a Ford truck. It's into the 1112 parking lot, and that's the 4 girls that get out. And so it stays there. So again, the Ford truck into the 112 King Road parking, the 4 girls, the vehicle parks and stays there. Okay. Next. At 1:15. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is it's a significant moment. And so it's not a time stamp though. So what we're going to do here is go like this. We're going to highlight it yellow. Oopsies, yellow. And it's significant because at 1:15, Eric Gower logs off Uber app. Okay. That is from a search warrant. So we're putting that in as a significant moment. Okay. I'll explain the reasons here in a minute why it's significant. I can explain it right now. Fuck it. Okay. During Eric Gower's interview, he makes statements that become inconsistent statements. So when he first talks to Blaker on the 14th, then he talks to Van Leuven on the 18th. And that's what we're waiting patiently for right now is the 18th interview. That's one that got all mixed up when we got the 14th one resent to us. Anyways, based on his statements on the 14th compared to those statements on the 18th, there's inconsistent statements. But we need to see if they're inconsistent because Van Leuven wrote a report the way that he did or because Eric made statements. The interview with Blaker lasted like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, okay? The interview with Van Leuven lasted 1 hour and 47 minutes. That's like a Jennifer Drake type interview, just to put it in perspective. 1 hour and 47 minutes. Okay. Next up, going and coming into, again, this is at 1:23 and 23 seconds. The white truck parks in front of 1112 Cam on road. A single male walks into 1118 next door. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay, so that's the 8th entry. 1:23 and 23 seconds. The white truck parks in front of the 1112 Cam on the road. Single male walks to 1118. Next. Is 1:30 and 20 seconds. Okay. 1:30 in the morning and 20 seconds. There is an Elantra looking car that comes into King and it pulls past 1112, possibly to drop people off, possibly to pick people up, but then it backs into 1127 driveway to leave. Remember, I was telling you guys about how a car will leave, but this is an Elantra looking vehicle. And it's significant because if you can show that an Elantra looking vehicle was making rounds that night, dropping and picking people up, and this is your first option, this is your first opportunity as a defense attorney to do that, in my opinion, is to go and focus on the 130 and 27 or 22nd car that comes in, because it's an Elantra looking vehicle, and the car comes past 112 cam and goes to 1127 back up and leave. And 1127 is where Jack D lives. And so that vehicle leaves within like it's okay. Next. Okay, 132 and 8 seconds. Now, no car has come past the 1122 King Road house yet. Except, I'm sorry, the pizza delivery person does. Okay. So 102 and 34 seconds. That's they make that loop. Actually, I want to put that down. Okay. Here's where I think that this person right here, the 132 and 8 seconds, this could be potentially Inan Harsh's vehicle. Now, the reason I say that is because of the time. Otherwise, he got home before 12:55. This car enters 1112 cam, goes east on Queen, and then there's no 1320 footage of the car. It appears to be black. You know, it's darker. And so this 132.08, that means that it does not make the Queen loop. So again, this vehicle here at 132 and 8 seconds, car enters and passes the 1122 King house, but is not seen on 13 Lena Lane footage, which means it would have had to go up the alley. Well, I know what that means, but so, and we don't have it technically leaving like right afterwards. Okay. So, oh no, that's not what I want. Whoopsies. Get out of that. So we don't have it leaving. Not right afterwards, at least anyways. Yes, Dylan did say that, and then she walked that back because she's like, oh, maybe that happened the night before. Okay. She did say that, and then that clashes, though, with everybody else's account of that they walked home. So now at 1:37 and 25 seconds, this vehicle pulls in, and it for 2 minutes is dropping people off at 1127 and then picks people up at 1119. Okay. So we're able to determine without a doubt that the 137 car, okay, it comes in at 1:37 and 25 seconds. That is without a doubt somebody that's picking up and dropping off people. So 1:37 here and 25 seconds. Car enters and pulls to 1127, stays 2 minutes, then gets 3 people from 1119. And you can see them walk out the front door. Okay. Now at 1:44 and 16 seconds, so that car, after it picks up the 3 people, it leaves. Now at 1:44 and 16 seconds, there's a car that enters and pulls. It pulls onto the street, and it goes like past the 1112 cam, and then reverses, and everything happens so quickly. It doesn't drop anybody off, and it doesn't pick anybody up. And we have reason to believe that this is Eric Gower going to pick up Kaylee. Okay. Now, again, this timestamp is 1:44 and 16 seconds. A car pulls in and doesn't pick anyone up or drop anyone off, and leaves like it's there for 57 seconds. Okay. Then 1:49 and 41 seconds. This is a car that we question because it's interesting. At 1:49, 11 seconds in the morning, this is vehicle number it's a work truck with a toolbox on the back. Okay. And it goes by Jack D's house. And when it's over there by Jack D's house, the curtains then are raised in the Jack D house in stages for over a 30-second period, or like after 30 seconds when the car gets back there. Within 30 seconds, there is a curtain being raised on one of the windows in stages, and then a light comes back. It goes on, then comes back down, and then the vehicle reverses to then turn into Queen to then leave. So it does that backup. It drives up and then drives in reverse. Puts its back end into Queen and then pulls out to leave. And it's interesting because that vehicle is very descriptive in the fact that it is a work truck with a toolbox. And it's there for 3 minutes and 50 seconds when it's all said and done. Something around that area, okay. Like, who owns a work truck that was out driving that night? Okay. 154.13. Okay. Does not sound like a diesel. There you go. Next timestamp. 154.13. Now, this is not Eric coming back with Kaylee and Maddie, but this is a significant vehicle. This vehicle it's a car that enters Queen Road, passes the 112 towards 1122. Okay. So it's seen and it's coming towards, it's passing the 1122 King Road house. But check this out. It is not on the 1330 Lindell Lane camera. It does not leave right away, if ever. Now, ready? This is the vehicle that we're going to put a big old little, and you're going to go to these interviews. Okay. When you go to the Eric Gower interview, he said the only thing that he recalled that was out of place was just something that he noticed that a sedan was pulled up on the left-hand side, right in front of the house, basically. Okay. This is wild because as he comes in, which is going to be right here within like a minute and 30 seconds, there could potentially be this sedan that's pulled up off into the left, because this vehicle right here that we have entering at 1:54 and 13 seconds, we don't have it on the cameras as making the loop or anything like that. And so it could have potentially then did pull up off into the left. And could this potentially be the undercover car? 1000% it could be. Okay. Pulling up off to the left like that by the dumpster. Okay. Doesn't make its roundabout, nothing. It's not seen on that Lindell Lane camera. So we know for a fact it did not make a loop. Okay. Now, we're all the way almost to 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Remember Molly talking about how she made 2 trips back there? Well, let's talk about that for a second. We're going through every car that has entered the area. The only way that Molly can get away with saying that she delivered in that area, and I think she knew what to say here, is Molly knew that she did not, okay, come into the back area to do any of this because her vehicle wouldn't have been seen. It's not seen. But Molly says that she comes back in there, and she's talking about she was driving into an area that she thought that she was kind of going the wrong way into, and that she kind of like, and that she had this big order, and the guy kind of came and met her out there. Just crazy crap like that she was talking about, right? And she was talking about that she didn't want to have to walk blocks. And that's why she was like just taking some steps and then going back to her car and then moving again, because she didn't want to have to walk all over the place like she did the first time that she was there. And the second time that she was there, she almost like went into an area, like she was like driving on like the sidewalk, she claimed. But I want to tell you this right now. If you look at all these timestamps right now, none of those vehicles, what she claimed in the interview is that when she first came back to that area, that she parked down by where the dumpster was. We have no vehicle doing that right now. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning. No vehicle parks down by that dumpster. Okay. Unless we start talking about this work truck. Okay. And that would put Molly in a totally different vehicle. I don't know. Maybe Molly did change vehicles because she was low on gas, didn't have gas money. So she's like, hey, I'll just go grab a different car at the house, drop this truck off, and then start driving around in my, Subaru. I don't know. But we're just sitting here trying to think what vehicles Molly came back in that area and delivered food in, because we're over here going through every single vehicle trying to assign one of these, actually 2, to Molly coming back there that night. And this is what you would have done if you were the cops. Okay. You would have gotten the timestamps of those drop-offs, which would have totally narrowed down. Like if you have her Uber shit or her DoorDash stuff, you're going to see, okay, here, that time, she dropped off this food at this time. Then she dropped off this food at this time. And then she has the 4 o'clock one. Okay. But she says she went back there twice. And so either it happened before 12:55 both times, or Molly parked somewhere completely different and walked all over to go back to the King Road area. But we're going to come back to that. Okay. Now going back to my 154 rant here, which was, again, a car enters Queen Road. So, So we're not able to say that this vehicle left right away. So the car enters and goes towards 1122 King Road house. Never seen on Lynn Lane footage. That's how I'm going to choose to leave it. Now, 1:55 and 56 seconds. That is Eric dropping off Kaylee and Maddie. And he claims in his interview I'm going to put C's 14 because in his interview, he claims that he saw this sedan that was pulled off on the left-hand side, like, and he thought that that was interesting. Also, the way that Eric drops off the girls, what's interesting to me is how he does it. He pulls into the driveway to do it. Okay. He definitely pulls into the driveway to do it. And then depending on how he did his pull in, if he pulls up like where the Explorer will eventually be, if he pulls in where the Explorer was, you can then like go backwards, but be cutting your wheel to then put yourself up to where there's no cars, like where Maddie's vehicle was parked on one of the body cams in September. And you could like do like, it's kind of like a U with your car. And then you can proceed to then pull out of the driveway, facing, going straight out, but then cutting it back to go left and get out. And if you did it that way, your lights would shine on that sedan that would be pulled off to the side. And that's why I'm saying that if he remembers this sedan, he's not bullshitting. He remembers a sedan being pulled off to the side, and people normally aren't over there parked because that's just not where people were parking. That's how that would catch you. Like that's how that would catch your, in my mind, logically, I would have to see that vehicle and it kind of be in my way. And it would be in your way if you're trying to pull into that driveway and then maneuver to get out and to then leave. Now, Eric also says that because Maddie made a mess in the back, he had to pull off and like clean it up. Well, I'm going to tell you that did not happen. When that happens is not on and at the house. Okay. So when that happens is when he goes to leave, we clocked his, and Mark did a really good job of this. We clocked to see how long it would take Eric when we know on the 1112 cam that he leaves. Boom, start the watch. He makes a right. There's no stop signs. There's no stop lights, anything. So you make a right, and we should know, and we should see you on the Linda Lane cameras to catch you on coming on Taylor to head on back to make your rounds. Well, it takes him a significant longer time to do that. And it's because we believe that he pulled off the side of the road. And he does say this in his interview, but it doesn't come until the second interview. He doesn't say this in his first interview. It's like he's been given information. It's like he's already talked to somebody in between Van Leuven and Blaker. Okay, because now he knows that he needs to say that because the cops are looking at this shit, right? That's what you're supposed to do. And if anybody's paying attention, it's like, wait, how come this took him so much longer to get to be seen on that camera? Oh, yeah. I had to pull over on Taylor and I looked in the back seat and I saw that she made a mess. So I had to get out of my car and clean it up. Versus him saying, oh, I picked up another person. So he comes up with that story. Okay. But I want you guys to pay attention to this, though. We don't believe that any of the stories are. I don't believe that any of those stories make any sense. I'm going to tell you what I believe. Okay. Well, at 1:54, what happens right before Eric gets into the King Road area? Well, this sedan parks. Eric has a memory of this sedan. I believe that the sedan that pulls in at 1:54 it doesn't even have to be the undercover car, but it is somebody that's working undercover. Okay, because I believe that there was not just two people doing that. Okay, you're going to be in unmarked cars if you're really doing a task force. Okay, and I've always said that I believe that there was not just two people doing that night, but there was four. Okay, there was two sets of two. But anyway, so think about this. So when Eric was to be leaving, and we have him pulling out of 1112 cam, and it takes him some time to get on that other cam, and it shouldn't have, and he makes no mention of it the first go around, but then comes up with the story that, oh, Maddie made a mess in the back and I had to get out and clean it. How would you see it? What are you looking in the back? Like, you would notice that when you were going to go and pick somebody up, when somebody's going to get in your car, is when you're going to look back and see, oh my God, there's a mess. So I pull off because I'm picking up new people. Then I would have to get out, swipe that stuff out of the car if it's like lettuce or whatever. But that would mean that it's because I'm picking people up there in some capacity. Because if I'm leaving and driving, the car is dark. I'm driving to my next, whatever I'm going to go do, right? How am I looking in the back? Like, what would possess me to decide to look in the back and somehow notice that there was a mess back there and I need to pull over and do that? Or is it that he had communications with the people that were in the 154 car? When he pulled down around, he pulled off the side. It's because he saw somebody, and it was those two were supposed to be communicating. Because he is a foreman. It makes perfect sense that Eric Gower would be an informant of the cops. This is the person that the cops would want to get into good with, because this is a person that's dropping off and picking up the students. Who better to get information out of than someone like that? Also, ready for this? Then, doesn't it make sense? How is Eric Gower the Santa Claus for the police in December of 2022? Well, that's strange. Out of all the people, Eric Gower, and everybody acts like they don't know each other. Eric Gower is the guy that they dress up as Santa for all the kids to sit on the lap of Santa. That December of 2022, nobody ever thought that we would ever get our hands on that manual, and that boom, there would be a picture of Eric Gower as Santa for the cops when they're doing their Christmas party. Nobody would be doing community service as Santa. Sorry, Mary. I love you to death, but you need more coffee this morning, Mary. Somebody that's doing community service, you're not putting them in a Santa outfit, okay? And around kids. Okay, get out there and clean the highway. Anyways, so when you do all of this stuff together, Eric Gower is not, and his wife worked for the police, okay? Her name was Katie Short. She worked for the police as well. So anybody out there that wants to say that the police don't know who Eric is and Eric doesn't know who the police are, sorry, we have proof. We have undisputable proof that Eric Gower played Santa in December of 2022 during this manhunt. Eric Gower playing Santa for the cops during this manhunt when he was a potential suspect. Think about all that. Absolute craziness. So when Eric, again, the importance of this is Eric claiming that he had to clean out the back seat because Maddie made a mess. Well, that's at the same time that this vehicle pulls off at 154 and 13 seconds and pulls off to the side, and you just mention it and you don't realize, oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, you knew that car was there because you actually know who's in that car. And then when you pulled off and around, they were already out of the car that you just saw, and they were down walking because that's where those stairs are. It's right where those guys parked this 154 car. They parked right where those stairs are, right where all those kids were standing by the next morning. That's where this vehicle was parked, in my opinion. And why we can say that with pretty much some certainty here is because this car at 154 does not make the loop and is not seen on lane camera. Okay. And then if you zero in a little bit more, see if that car goes up the alley or not. Now, why is this also significant? The Undercover's Tisdall wrote up a report on the 15th of November. And he wanted to tell the world about his night that he was working in this undercover task force. And what he claims is absolutely wild. He claims that him and Rosendahl were in the car together and he was always the driver, and that he made numerous loops around that the famous Queen Road loop. I call bullshit. How? This material that I'm going to pump out right here, it is impossible for them to be any of these vehicles because there are no vehicles. There are no vehicles that do what that man says that him and Rosendahl did that night, which was actually, I'm going to read it right from his own words. Well, I can't find it at the moment. Hold on. Okay. I'll pull it up here in a second. But basically, he writes in his own personal report that he made a couple different loops and he went the same way every time. And then it was on the last loop that he thought, which was right before he pulled over the people in Banfield, that's when he saw people walking into the King Road house. Okay. And that he was coming down and around on the side of the house. And that as he's coming down and pulling down around the side of the house, that he saw the girls walking in. He thought one of them was blonde. Well, this times up perfectly with the 154 car to seeing the blondes go in. Okay. And he's just decides to think about this. He decides to write in his report that he made this loop to do it. And that as he was coming down the alleyway after making this loop is when he saw the women walking in. Well, yeah, you may have made that loop. Okay. But you made the loop on foot. Make sense? There is no way in hell that you made that loop driving. So you pull off to the side, then you get out of the car, and then you're making your loop. Okay. And it times up perfectly with this 154.13 car entering. And then right after that, 155 and 56 seconds, it times up perfectly with the person and the people that Rosendahl and Tisdall are saying that they saw. Yeah. If that means that you're the 154 car. Otherwise, you guys, there is no vehicle that makes any loops unless you want to claim ownership of a suspect vehicle 1. So then one should ask themselves, he would have known that he wasn't driving around making a loop. So why wouldn't he just say he's on foot? Why would you say that you're driving when you know that you weren't? And being so specific, that's why this actually report is really important to talk about, is because the language that he uses. Does anybody know what number report Jacob Tisdall was in the MPD out of 314? it would just help me to pull up this really quick. I'll move on. Okay. So after then, right after basically, as Eric Gower is pulling away after dropping off the girls, Peyton Rossi is pulling in, and he is the next vehicle. Peyton Rossi is so he's pulling away. Eric is at, well, here, he pulls away at 1:56, and it's like 52 seconds. But at 1:56, or I'm sorry. Yeah, 1:56 and 54 seconds. This is Peyton Rossi dropping off Jack D. And he's there for 28 seconds and leaves. And that matches perfectly with what Peyton Rossi's interview said, and it's just to a T. Okay, we're going to put this again in yellow because it's not actually timestamp, but it is a big old clash. Again, that's the Eric Gower. He pulls off on Taylor to clean the back seat off. This is what he claims. Or does he pick somebody up that he doesn't want to be saying that he picked up? Or did he talk to the undercovers and he does not want to be saying that? So he has to say, oh, I pulled off to clean off the back seat of the vehicle. It's report 10. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to pull that up really quick. Appreciate your help there in the chats. Here is number 10. Enter. Oopsies. Where'd she go? Okay, Jacob Tisdall. Okay. I'm going to share this just for a second so you guys can see it. On November 12th at about 9, I began an overtime shift for a plain clothes detail on the University of Idaho campus and related areas. This patrol was for minors in possession / consumption of alcohol, along with other alcohol drug offenses. During this patrol, I and the other officer with me, Officer Rosendahl, only had our body-worn cameras, no dash cam. We were operating out of the Moscow Police Department Ford Fusion, which I drove throughout the entire detail. This particular department vehicle did not have a dash camera or any other recording device. My street time conducting the plainclothes detail concluded at 3:52 hours on November 13th, 2022. During this detail, Officer Rosendahl and I made several patrols through the area of King Street and Queen Road. During each patrol of the area, we traveled on the north side of 500 Queen Road heading east. We wrapped around the building heading south on the east side, then west on the south side of the complex. We then traveled north on the west side, turned west onto Queen Road, and proceeded to King. During one of the patrols in this area, while approaching the southwest corner of 500 Queen Road, I recall seeing a darker colored vehicle with taillights on. This vehicle was parked facing south on the south side of the parking lot. Do you understand what that means? That means he is reversed in, okay? He is reversed in. Because if you're on the south side of the parking lot towards the west end, so you guys know how the compass works, okay? Wow. So this is dead spot on that they're saying that Tisdall is basically saying, I saw Eric Gower. Okay. And the only way that you could see Eric Gower when you're coming down the alley, which we're telling you this right now, there is no car that goes along unless they shut their lights off. The 154 car in 13 seconds would have had to go around that loop and turned their lights off. But that doesn't make sense with what Eric Gower is saying. Eric Gower is over here claiming that there was a sedan that was pulled off. Do you understand? This loop that they're saying that they made is the famous loop that we've all been watching on all these cameras. And at 154 and 13 seconds, when this vehicle enters in, okay, at 154, basically they're Jacob Tisdall is tagging that vehicle that enters at 154 and 13 seconds. He's tagging them as that's us. How? This report and our timeline based on every single car that entered that area. Every single car. Now, he's claiming that upon entering at 154, remember we tell you that this vehicle goes past the house, but we can prove that it's not on Linda Lane, where you can see the cars make the loop. That would mean that if they did make the loop, they shut the lights off. They shut the lights off to make that loop. Or you didn't do this. Oh, let me pull that back up. Okay. Where's he at? Okay. By him saying that I recall seeing a darker, when did he write this? On 11/15? The day after, holy shit, you guys, the day after Gower speaks to Blaker on 11/14, Tisdall writes up this report. Then Gower would be interviewed on the 18th, and that's the one that we're waiting for. That's the Big Daddy one. Okay. Holy shit balls. It's getting better than I thought. During one of the patrols in this area, just one of them, okay, while approaching the southwest corner of the 500 block of Queen Road, I recall seeing a darker colored vehicle with taillights on, because he's claiming that they're coming down the alley that's right next to the house. This vehicle was parked facing south. Okay, facing south means that it's facing away from camp, like it's facing towards the house. On the south side of the parking lot is, and then towards the west end, that means towards the where that huge open spot is on the right hand side, where like that cop car then would be there patrolling and watching after the murders happened, like on that side. There was a short section of the parking lot which extended to the west of 500 Queen Road, south of 1122 King Street, which was where the vehicle was. So then hang tight here. He's like saying that now he's like, there was a short section of the parking lot which extended to the west of 500 Queen Road, south of the 1122 King Street, which was where the vehicle was. What? Each time we patrolled this area, I drove. There's the words drove, not walked, drove. I drove the same route. During the final patrol, which to the best of my recollection was between 2 and 3 on November 13th, as we traveled north on the west side of the apartment complex, I saw several individuals approaching the residence at 1122 King Street. During this detail, I was looking for alcoholic beverages, open alcoholic containers, and individuals who appeared to be intoxicated. I observed the individuals as I drove past, but did not see any reason to contact them for our related patrol. Now, this is where I call bullshit. If you actually drove past this and kept on going, we would have then seen your car leaving. Okay? We would have then saw your car leaving, and we don't have your car leaving. Hold on one second. Let me see this other one. This is interesting. Oopsies. So, how we can also tell this is absolute crap. Okay. Based on what he is saying, he's describing, for whatever reason, he wants to describe and say that he basically saw Eric Gower coming to the house and during one of the patrols in the area while approaching the southwest corner. From where? Approaching how? While approaching this. I recall seeing a darker colored vehicle with taillights on. That could also be if this happened later. Holy shit, actually. That could be the SUV then too. This vehicle was parked facing south. On the south side of the parking lot, though. The south side of the parking lot, he's confused with his northeast, southwest. He doesn't know what he's saying. South when what? The way that you would describe that parking lot is when you would be looking at the home at 1122 King Road, you're looking at it. So in that, I would never say any part of it, there's nothing south. You got, the house is right in front of you. So are you more over to the right side of the house or the left side? Because then you're talking about east and west. This vehicle was parked facing south. So now it's facing south, which means it's pulled straight in. On the south side of the parking lot, towards the west end. The west end is towards like Xana's. If you're facing the house, that's the west side. The east side is if you're talking about Bethany's room. So that's what I don't understand. There was a short section of the parking lot which extended to the west. Yes, it does. When facing the house, but extended to the west of 500 Queen Road. Like, why are you describing it like that? He doesn't know what the fuck. South of 1122 King Street. South, which was where the vehicle was. Each time we patrolled this area, I drove the same. Do you guys understand that Eric Gower is basically it's behind Queen Apartment South parking? Yeah, but that's not how you would be explaining that. And there's but Eric didn't go back there. Okay. We're gonna fill this in later. Okay. This is why Ann Taylor was calling his ass to the stand. Anyways, moral of the story is each time we patrolled this area, I drove the same route. That is a phallus unless you're going to get up on that stand and say, yep, every time I drove that route, I shut my lights off. Every time I drove, dude, driving back there as dark as it is, you have your lights off. Okay. During the final patrol, which to the best of my recollection was between 2 and 3 hours, 2 and 3 in the morning, as we traveled north on the west side of the apartment complex, traveling north, that means you're coming down the hill, I saw several individuals approaching the residence at 1122 King Street. So he's describing two different instances. That's what's happening here. Okay. So this is basically what they're saying here is that, oh, this is good then. Okay, perfect. Now okay, ready. During his final trip, which is not the trip of Maddie and Kaylee being dropped off, that's a different trip. Okay. During the Maddie and Kaylee drop off time, he's saying that they're there and he's talking about a darker SUV and he's just not recalling things correctly about this darker SUV, not SUV, but this darker car. And I think it was after Eric Gower had mentioned about seeing them that he had to put that in his narrative. Okay. But the people that he would be then referring to, and he's saying that the people that they saw on the last and final trip was right before, okay, the Banfield incident. During the final patrol, which to the best of my recollection was between 2 and 3, as we traveled north on the west side of the apartments, I saw several individuals approaching the residence at 1122 King Street. During this detail, I was looking for alcoholic beverages, open, and individuals appeared intoxicated, blah, blah. I observed the individuals as I drove past, but did not see any reason to contact them for our related patrol. Now, I said to myself, why is he making it a point to say that every time that he drove, that he was in this Fusion car? Okay. Right here. Everything that I was involved in, I'm in this car. Well, let me tell you guys something. This is going to be great. This is like, you cannot get a better look at this. You guys, it is impossible for what this man is saying here. Because we're going to, as we continue on with this, he is basically saying, because there is no vehicle, he is basically going to assume, because as he's passing by to then like leave, we're going to see that on the 1112 cam leaving. Okay. On this last patrol that he's talking about, on my last patrol, during one of the patrol, right here, during the final patrol, that's when I saw several individuals. This is not the same trip as seeing Maddie and Kaylee. Okay. See, during one of the patrols in the area, while approaching the southwest corner of 500 Queen Road, I recall seeing a darker colored vehicle with taillights on. This vehicle was parked facing south on the south side of the parking lot towards the west end. There was a short section of the parking lot which extended to the west of 500 Queen Road. south of 1122 King Street, which was where the vehicle was. Why are you mentioning this? Why are you mentioning that? Did you approach that car? And when would this have been? Each time we patrolled this area, I drove the same route. During the final patrol, I drove past but did not see any reason to contact them for our related patrol. I recall my view of the individuals being obstructed by the vehicles and brush on the east side of the parking lot for 1122 King Street. There it is. Important to put in there. Why? Because you're going to try to claim that that SUV is there. I recall my view of the individuals being obstructed by vehicles and brush on the east side of the parking lot for the 1122 King Street. The individuals were walking close a vehicle. Look at this. The individuals were walking close a vehicle, which was parked in the northeast corner of the lot. As I turned onto Queen Road and traveled west, which is then towards the 1112 cam, I continued to view the individuals. From my recollection, there was at least 2 individuals, possibly 3. I recall one of the individuals having blonde hair. I do not recall exactly how many individuals there were, what they were wearing, or any other details as I quickly looked for beverages in their hands and whether they were staggering from intoxication. This cannot be the Eric Gower drop-off. Since we made several patrols through the area, I cannot say with 100% confidence, right there. Since we made several patrols through the area, I cannot say with 100% confidence I saw the vehicle on the same path as I saw the individuals. Motherfucker, we don't have your vehicle doing any of this. That's the problem. Next is, so when you come back here to this beautiful Excel spreadsheet that so eloquently states that there's a huge problem here, okay? There's a huge problem here. Because when you go through this entire cam and you list, like we're listing, every car that's coming and going and when they're coming and if it's the same car that's going, okay? We have no suspect. We have no patrol fusion vehicle. Unless you want to label, okay, this one, and I think your best efforts are to label this, which is the 15413 entry as being the thing that the problem is that we don't have it leaving. The 15413 vehicle, it doesn't leave right away. It doesn't just make this loop and then is leaving. They also filtered the shit out of Peyton Rossi's vehicle for whatever reason. So hang tight here. And after the hold on. whoopsies. The last part of that portion of the report says, upon review of my radio history, I contacted 3 individuals at blank Taylor Avenue at about 2:55 hours. To the best of my recollection, this was after exiting King Street, after seeing the individuals at 1122 King Street. And then he lies about time they cleared that. Again, here it is, the last part, which is then you have a huge problem. Okay. Upon review of my radio history, he does the radio, not the body cam. I contacted 3 individuals at Taylor Avenue at 2:55 hours. If he would have gone off the body cam, it's actually, they're getting out of the vehicle at 2:53. Whatever. To the best of, he uses the radio because that's when they're radioing something in. To the best of my recollection, this was after exiting King Street. And what we can now say with certainty is that that's not accurate. And we know that it's not accurate because we have the 1112 camera. Okay. And I have no idea, like none. So to the best of his recollection, well, he knows that that's not accurate at all. But moreover, more importantly is you guys were not making loops back there. What vehicles are you? And this is what you would be putting out in front of this man, Jacob Tisdall, and to show, or you can even do it through your own expert. But you'd want to do it in a way that you'd be calling Jacob to the stand right after you called your expert, because then the evidence is introduced through him. And then you can go to town and say, what vehicle were you? I'm going to show you all these clips. So then we go back to this. And let's go look at, as we fill this out, the next. So basically what he's saying is that he would have been the car that was leaving right before stopping those people. Okay. And so you have to look between, let's say, 2:30 and 2:50. Okay. And if you look at that, which we're getting into right now, which is 2:08. So at 2:08 and 13 seconds, you have Eric Gower car, we believe. And it goes 1126, and it's there for 1 minute, 1 second. And this would be blowing up Eric saying that he never came back. And it's going to go with the ISP 5 through 12 reports, blows him up. Okay. Then, like that, I mean, this is just ridiculous. Then we get to put the infamous at 2:10. Dylan, Texas, Eric Gower. Are you driving? Then 2:13. Dylan says that she is sleeping by that time. Or I should say that the police say that. Police and Dylan say that she is sleeping. What we're going to show some. We're going to show some things that. So. Okay. All right. These two we're going to highlight as yellow because those aren't physically cars coming. But we want to show that at the time that this was happening, Eric Gower is back in the area. To when Dylan asks that, because he comes back and is there from 2:08 to 2:09. Then literally at 2:10, Dylan says, "Are you driving?" Whoopsies. Oh, son of a bitch. I'll do that in a minute. Okay, the next vehicle that we have is 2:26 and 6 seconds. And that is straight up Queen, parked halfway past 1122 house. Okay? So now we're getting into some good shit. Now, the reason that we think that it did not make this loop around, so Mark, you're going to love this, is car comes in and passes by 1122 King Road house. And based off of the lights, we believe it parks halfway up on left side. Okay. Now, based on Jacob Tisdall's, put this to 20. This blows this up. So when I'm talking to Mark, oh, is none of this sharing? Okay. Ooh, thank goodness. Okay. So when I'm talking to Mark the other night, I'm like, Mark, these are undercover cops doing undercover task work. We need to look again at the videos because I think they were shutting off their lights. We're doing all of this stuff off of lights. Okay. I think that they were shutting off their lights. So God is my witness. I think he's still in chat. I said, I think that they're shutting off their lights. And if I was to tell you that they were shutting off their lights, what's still on the table? And he said, because we're saying that this vehicle here at 2:28, okay, I think they're looping on foot. Nope, they're not looping on foot. Not one bit, because he wrote it in his report that that's not how he was doing it. And that's why I just showed that report. It would get blown up in court. Okay. So, let's see if I can make this just a tad bit bigger too. There we go. So this car right here at 2:26 and 6 seconds, car comes in and passes by 1122 King Road house. And based off of the lights, we believe it parks halfway up on the left side, which would be right across from those apartments where the next day that they were canvassing, you know, the first floor apartments. So the issue is that now basically in order for Jacob Tisdall to make any sense, we have to start seeing one of these vehicles that came back into this area, which is this vehicle right here at 2:26, straight up Queen. And we believe that it parked halfway up because guess what? We cannot see it making the loop on Linda Lane. So we're attributing to it that it had to have parked between passing the house and before it got to Linda Lane. Now you have to back up and you have to say, okay, are we supposed to now throw into the wrench of things that that their vehicle, they were shutting off the lights? Because this vehicle at 2:26, it goes straight up past, we believe it parks. And I said, okay, we have to back up and find where did that vehicle at 2:26 come from? And so I said, where do we have it? It's seen on Taylor beforehand. And it's at the 1330 camera at 2:25 and 28 seconds. So it times up perfectly with that we have it coming from Taylor, not Walenta. Okay. And then I said, can you back it up further? Is it coming from like traveling off from where Blake is, where like the sororities and fraternities are? Where is this car coming from? Then the only car that we have leaving after 226 and 6 seconds of entering, we have at 229, 11 seconds. This is this Dodge Caravan leaving. And it's exiting King Road. And it comes down from the alley next to the house. So we put an X here. Unless we're able to say that the 226 and 6 second car that comes in there is a Dodge Caravan, which we don't believe that it is, then we have to go to the 229 and 11 second vehicle, which is this, oopsies, 229 and how many 11 seconds. Oh, what the fuck just happened here? Oh, wait, no. Okay. Then we have 229 and 11 seconds. But we have to put it here because it does not enter. Okay. Then, okay, at 2:34 and yeah, 2:34. We have the X there is because it never came in, so that's why the X is in front. So it shows that it only left at 2:29, 11 seconds. Now here, this is a vehicle that is just seen on Walenta from the 112 cam heading towards the Moyer residence. One of these times this happens is Tyler was out at the bars. So we begin to start looking and seeing if what time Taylor Moyer is coming home. Remember, Tyler Moyer is on the defense witness list. He's not on the defense witness list for nothing. Okay, he's on the defense witness list for a fucking reason. And I believe there's a couple reasons he's on the defense witness list. And so that's one of your options for him to be coming home from the bar. Next. Again, that does not go into King. 2:36 though, and 6 seconds. We have a sighting, a vehicle coming in at 2:36 and 1 second. And this is an SUV. First seen entering 1112. Cam goes to 1127. Is there for 23 seconds and then backs up and leaves. So that's somebody that's getting dropped off at 2:36 and 6 seconds, what it seems like. It could also be going to the, so just, We'll do it that way. Again, this vehicle leaves, so it's accounted for. 2:36 and 30 seconds. It's in and out. 2:40 and 33 seconds. This is a car seen traveling north on Walenta. That means towards campus. Okay. At 2:40 and 33 seconds, a car north on Walenta, and then you see it on the 1320 Linda Lane camera at 2:41 and 22 seconds. And so car seen traveling towards campus, and then on Linda Lane 1320 within a minute. So it adds up. And this could be possibly Matt Moyer leaving. There's only so many options that you have for Matt Moyer, who says he's leaving between 2:30 and 3. That's one of them. And the first one, depending on which way he traveled, but you have to leave that as an option. It could also be, remember the scene on the Walenta, the 1112 cam heading towards Moyer residence? And I said that could be Tyler coming home from the bar, possibly, right? Well, 6 minutes later, basically, a car seen traveling north on Walenta. Could that be potentially the same vehicle that was seen going, towards the Moyer's house? Then there's a car, traveling north, which means away towards campus. South is when you're leaving out. 2:48 is the next time we have a vehicle. 2:48 and 10 seconds, and it's entering, the King area. A car enters and it parks at it enters Queen and parks at where the 1330 camera, it makes that tons of noise. It's a very noisy car and it never leaves. So car enters and seen on passes 1122 King Road House and is very noisy and parks Queen parking and seen on Lynn Lane cam. Never leaves. Whoopsies. Okay. $252. Now this is where it gets interesting. So we're going to make a little category for this area right now. You guys are going to appreciate this work. Now we're going to start talking about the undercovers. All right. 2:52 and 7 seconds. 2:52 and 7 seconds. There's a vehicle that is seen on Linda Lane, 2:52 and 7 seconds. And then it's comes on to King Road where the lights can just be seen on the 1112 cam. It's like turning into King from Taylor, turning into King, but just its lights are there, and that kind of like would be like pulling back out and turning around, because it does not, this 252 and 7-second car that's traveling down Taylor, heading towards King, it does not come into King. Okay. But its lights make it so that it definitely had to turn left for just like, even if it was just to, hey, I'm just going to turn around, like make like a U-turn. So it's just the lights. And then there's going to now be a second vehicle at 2:53 and 7 seconds. Now, why this is important is because of everything that's going to be taking place in Banfield and on the body-worn cameras of the undercovers. At 2:53 and 7 seconds, we're calling this, so car 1 is the 2:52 and 7 second one. Then we have 2:53 and 7 seconds, literally a minute later, is car 2, and that is at the whites, and we believe that that is the undercover vehicle. Okay. Then that first car, okay, we believe that these two vehicles, car 1 and car 2, meet up in the whites parking lot. Okay. So there's things that are going on at 2:52, which is important because Jacob Tisdall says that right before he pulls over these people that are walking in the Banfield area, right? He believes that they came from King Road to do that. The fuck they did. No, they did not. How do we know? Well, we have the cameras, man. We have the cameras. So now it's all about finding out, where people were right before this big explosion at the Banfield. So how we're going to be doing this is, here it is. There's no cars seen coming. No cars come into King area. However, lights can be seen on 1112 camera. And this is at 2:52 and how many seconds did I say? 7. Car number 1 traveling on Taylor West towards King Road, turns around and uses King to make its U-turn. Car number 2, which we believe is, so car 2 then, is at the whites. Okay. Okay. And then car number 1 then leaves the meet and greet. Okay. So let me explain this. So right here at 2:52 and 7 seconds, the car number 1 is traveling on Taylor west towards King Road. They either are talked to on some radio or on the phone with somebody, and therefore, oh, we passed it up. We need to turn around, and we're going to use the King Road to turn around. And by doing that, we're able to see these lights flash on. So because we knew that a car was coming down Taylor because we have the Linda Lane cameras, okay? But then this car miraculously never does anything. It doesn't go on Molenta. It doesn't come up towards, in the King area. But as Mark was able to slow it all the way down, he's like, the lights are coming like it's about to, and it seems like it pulls like this U-turn. But it doesn't get seen onto Linda Lane quick enough. So that's what proves that this vehicle, car number 1, has a conversation with car number 2, even if it's just for a minute or 30 seconds. Okay. Also in that area, it's a college town. You're trying to find a parking spot. You're trying to see if you can find one. You're coming home. So of course you're going to be making a hey, I got to turn, because you can't park on the right-hand side when you're traveling down Taylor. So you have to wait so you can turn around. So this could be potentially a car that's going to turn around because they're parking to get home for the night. Well, until this happens, okay? While this is happening, so car number 1 finally makes it to its destination where it stops for a little bit, because then it gets right back going at 2:54 in 7 seconds. Car number 1 is then seen traveling on Taylor. Oh, wait, hold on. Whoopsies. Why did it do that? I don't want it to be doing that. It just wrote the same thing. This time east toward Blake. Makes a left on Blake and heads towards town / Sororityville. Then we know what's happening on the body cam. Okay. So with this being shown like this, what we can I believe 1000% prove is that Jacob Tisdall is saying that they pulled out of the King Road area. We don't have a vehicle doing that. The only vehicle that pulls out right here is this Dodge van leaving the side of the house. So unless they got into some Dodge van, okay, that undercover car never left, because even though it was having its lights off, making loops back there, when we're watching the 1112 cam and it's on 24/7 and there is no vehicle that leaves. Okay. And this is where I said, fuck yeah, they're operating with 2 cars. These motherfuckers. And that's why he's writing a report talking about, why do you think Ann Taylor did a request asking, she wanted every name of every fleet car that the cops owned. Every car that's on and it's been purchased through the department. Okay. Then she wanted to know every single person that worked for the department what their personal use vehicle was. Why? Well, I'm showing you why. Jacob Tisdall is either lying or he left the King Road area in a different vehicle. We have to account for so many people coming and going in that area with cars. There's no cars, you guys. All these people that are, Inan came home. The undercovers make multiple loops. Eric never comes back again. Here, let me read it off. I put it in my description of this video. I'm like, there's not enough cars. Like, you don't have enough cars for all of the people that we have to account for. Adam coming home from work after working in the corner club. Where's that at? Well, if he's walking, then he's lying in his report. Again, guys, I'm using the report, and the report is gospel. He wrote it, and he wrote it on the 11th, on the 15th. The murders were on the 13th. It's pretty fresh in your mind, right? Also, we have all of their body cams from every stop that they had that night. I have them all. So I can pinpoint them down and what they were doing and how they were doing things. Now, I know that it was Casey Green's shift the night of the murders. What I mean by Casey Green's, like, he's the guy in charge and he has people underneath him. Okay? And I believe that Ann Taylor was onto this. How do I believe that and why? Because of what she was requesting. You're not requesting this type of stuff because you're not breaking this stuff down. I just believe that I can break it down better than anybody in the country, and maybe people miss stuff that was on her team. But it's about answering questions. So if the material should answer questions, then it should be just a checkoff list. Okay. Eric Gower saying that he never went back to the King Road area. Why are you doing that? Why are you saying that? When you know damn well, not only did you go back there once, but you went back multiple times. Eric Gower signs off Uber at 1:15, logs off, so Uber can't trace him anymore, because that's what, like, the app does. It GPSes you. That gets put in a report. Eric can't prove that the girls paid for any ride, and he says, "Well, people pay me." Why didn't the girls pay you that night? How are you keeping track of who owes you? I mean, do you know how many rides in a small campus like that you can give? You know how much money you can make? If you guys ever need a job and you need quick money, go to a college campus area, get the Uber app, become a driver, and literally you will bank. Like what these Uber drivers are making over here, over at OSU for games, for partying, going out, it's astronomical. So if you have a car and you ever need to make money, I'm telling you, yeah, just boot them. So going back to this amazing spreadsheet here, we can pinpoint times here that it would be only possible for what's his name, Tisdall, to have seen people. Rosendahl did not write up a report, by the way. Okay. So every single car that comes in, we have accounted for. You understand that? Every single one. And why this is going to end up mattering, except for one, which is when every car comes in, leaves. So see, yes. This car right here stays. Ford truck. Okay. Yep. And we have it on camera the whole time. Stays right here. Car enters and passes 1122 King House, but is not seen on the 1320 Linda Lane footage. That's at 1:32 and 8 seconds. And we're calling it a car. We can go back and check. Does it look like it could potentially be a van? All right, but we have this vehicle, and why this matters is because of the speeding away car at 4:20 in the morning. The vehicle that is seen speeding off and away. For them to say that it's the 408 car, or the car that comes in last there, that is so reckless with what with the statements that we have in the footage that we have. That is absolutely unbelievable. Because you have police officers that are saying that they made loops back there that we can prove did not happen. Prove did not happen. We have a police officer then saying that they're making loops that they did not make based on the vehicles. Like, where's your vehicle, motherfucker? And what they said that they saw a vehicle parked in the back like that. What? Like, was that trying to help out in the beginning? Because if you think about it, what was going on the 15th? Okay. Here, yeah, say this because that gives us probable cause to go get stuff, because then we can use what Tisdall said that he saw could lead to probable cause for us to get X, Y, and Z. But Tisdall and what he did actually kills the prosecution for Brian Koberger. So we don't have this car ever leaving this one, nor do we have it though being seen on the Linda Lane footage. Did its lights get turned off though? But we literally don't see it leaving though on 1112 cam, unless, like I said, here's this other one at 1:54 and 13 seconds. Car enters and goes towards, never seen on Linda Lane footage. These are these two cars, and which would tell somebody that 132, 154. That means there's two cars back there that did not leave. Two. The one at 132 and the one at 154. And Eric Gower coming right after the 154 car, talking about seeing a sedan. And that comes in his 18th interview. Then we have Peyton Rossi, okay? Then we have Eric Gower pulling off on Taylor to clean the back seat off. Picks someone up, or he talks to an undercover. I'm telling you, you would have done that in the driveway, because when they would have been getting out, you're talking to them, you're seeing what's on your seat. There's no way that you're driving a vehicle and just happen to turn back and look in the back seat. Oh my God, while the lights are off. Oh my God, look at this mess. Get the fuck out of here. Who the fuck do you think I am? I would make you look so not credible to a jury. Me, myself, and no fucking law degree. Okay? You don't need a law degree to argue. You don't need a law degree to build timelines. Okay? But in fact, a lawyer needs me to do this, because clearly they can't. And I'm going to show you guys a case. We're going to be using the Holly Bobo case to really try to show everybody, if you don't, I mean, it's insanity. If you don't have a timeline and you don't put one together to defend somebody, you are the most ineffective, incompetent fuck ever. Because the Holly Bobo case is the easiest case to show that when she was on the phone with her boyfriend and her mom, that's when the screaming and stuff was occurring. Yeah. And nobody thought to put together the timeline of events that took place starting and beginning at 4:30 in the morning when Holly Bobo woke up. And that it's wild, but I want to show it, and I'm going to show it. Even if I have to stay up all night to do double duty here. So we get to Eric. He pulls off the side of the road. Ironically, at the same time that a car just had gone back there that he claims is suspicious, he then basically has a conversation with, or picks up somebody that he doesn't want us to know about. Then the next time a car comes back to that area, after just Eric left, he comes back at 2:08 and drops somebody off for a minute. He acted like that never happened. So he's totally distancing himself from that area. Why? You're just dropping people off. Who cares? It's like he knows something that we don't know on the time of the crime. He thinks that this crime happened way earlier. Tell you that right now. Eric Gower believed that this crime happened way earlier. And maybe it's because of what the police were putting out of what time the crime was. You know, just after 3 and between 3 and 4. Well, so Eric then is having a texting conversation and never mentions it to the police that he was texting with one of the surviving roommates. Never comes up. Never to this day, in anything that we have to this point, does he ever say that he was texting with Dylan, one of the surviving roommates. And nor does he say that he texted Dylan the next day to say, oh my God, what's going on? You know? 226, car comes in and passes by 1122 King Road house, and based off of the lights, we believe it parked halfway up the side. Well, that's interesting. Now we have 226 time that's happening. We have the 132 time, the 154 time. So we have 132, 154, and now 226. 3 times where a car has come in, past the house, and poof, disappears and is never seen on the Linda Lane footage. which means that according to the cops, they made those loops. And if we take them at their word, then that means they shut off their lights. And so go ahead, account that we have 3. We never have them leaving those. So how many undercovers do we have back in the back Queen Road area? Well, a car at 132 does that. A car at 154 does that. And now a car at 226 does that. And we're going to go ahead and give these red because they just stick out like a sore thumb now. Now we do have a vehicle that leaves and didn't, it's not that it arrived ever, unless we can say that one of those 3 vehicles was a Dodge van, because we have a Dodge van leaving from the side of the house at 229:11. Then we have Inan Harsh. It's not the Dodge van though. We can account that there's a vehicle that comes in at 2:36. It leaves at 2:36 and 30 seconds. Then we have another Walenta sighting. Again, I'm focusing on those Walenta sightings because of the Moyer's house being right over there. And Simon Getty. 2:48, we have a car that enters the 1112 camp, passes King Road, and is very noisy and parks at the Queen parking area and is seen on Lynn Lane cam. I actually want to put a check. Okay. Then we talk about what happened with everything with the undercovers here. Again, we're not listed as one of the cars that come in because they never do come in. And now we can get back to the cars that are coming in. 24 is at 2. Okay. We got to talk about this white truck. We'll get to that. Okay, 2:58 and 33 seconds. 2:58 and 33 seconds. This is actually from the body cam. So it's a light colored SUV on the body cam. At 3 o'clock and 25 seconds, we have a sighting on Walenta here, and it's heading north. North on Walenta, the body cam. Okay, so and I think this is Matt Moyer, that we can say that it's a black truck, though. Black truck. So it's heading north on Walenta, then east on Taylor. Passing in background from body cam. And it's the black truck. Okay. Now we can go back to the sightings of the vehicles on. So I'm going to. Okay, 3, 12, and 30 seconds. So we see this on the body cam. Car heading west on Taylor toward King. Three, 12, and 30 seconds. Eric Gower enters and goes to pull into Queen, drives backwards, and 2 people get out, and then leaves at 3:14. So it's like a drop-off pickup. So 1122 cam sees Eric Gower enter area, drives back by 1127, which we think is a drop-off potential. But for sure, he picks up 2 people or 3 people. Okay. At 3:22 and 34 seconds, 2 girls on the deck at 1112 get into a car that backed up. So we got to do some finessing here with this because there's also the guy with the backpack. So 34 seconds. Okay. All right. Now this is where we're going to talk. Okay. This is all filled in to the point of when the suspect vehicle is arriving, or what they're labeling as suspect vehicle. Now, at 3:30 and 21 seconds starts the first loop. 3:38 and 34 seconds is the second loop. At 3:46 and 9 seconds, Molly's SUV arrives. Okay. And now we have to start talking about some bullshit here. What cars are Molly before 3:46? What the fuck cars are Molly? Well, Molly, we don't have any spots for you. We have nobody that's coming and leaving and dropping off food. Okay. Like, not happening. You cannot, I mean, here's the video, watch it. I did this lovely video for you guys in a 2-hour segment to say this is every time a car is coming into that area. And does it leave? Where does it go? Well, Molly, there is no receipts on anything that Molly has said. So if I was to talk to Molly and Molly tells me that she was up in that area and delivering and parking by dumpsters and doing whatever, it's just not there. It's simply not there. And I want to know why they even gave a fuck about Molly being there at 3:46 and at 4 o'clock dropping off the DoorDash. That makes no sense to me. It's because there's way more to her device, I'm telling you. Makes no sense that you would even care if a DoorDash is actually in the area at 3:46 and then, hey, they leave at 4. What's the problem there? Also, what are you going off of? Because in that area, you would be on the cell towers for like way before 3:46 because of wherever you were right before that. It just doesn't make any sense. Molly then gets rid of her phone, gets 4 new fucking tires. Okay. Molly is basically a fugitive. The cops are trying to get in touch with this broad. And then they don't ever pull Molly's Uber stats. Instead, they just focus on the house getting the Uber. And here, who's ever ordered from DoorDash or whatever, not Uber Eats, but DoorDash. Well, I say back all the way the fuck up and let's start talking about everybody's stories up to this point. Because if you do a neighborhood canvas, you're getting you're going to know everybody that lives in that area. You're going to know every car that they drive. And then you're going to start accounting for things. And here immediately they say that this is a suspect vehicle. This is what do you mean? This is what? You guys, what I see here is somebody driving in and dropping somebody off at 3:20. What time is it? I see somebody at 3:26 and 10 seconds. Or I'm sorry, at 3:29 and 30 seconds on Taylor. Okay. This is the only car they've tracked like this, by the way. 3:29 and 30 seconds, Lynn Lane on Taylor, and then poof, that camera goes bye-bye. Poof, gone. At 3:30 and 21 seconds, comes in, makes a loop, and you can actually see it making a loop. But let me ask you guys a question. They don't care. You're going to tell me that these detectives don't give a fuck that this car comes into the area at 1:32 and just disappears? This car comes in the area at 1:54 and just disappears. And then at 2:26, this car comes into the area and just disappears. And they all disappear at the same spot. You guys, there's no room over there in Queen that's when you're driving up everybody can't be parking off to the left. Understand, capiche? All 3 of these vehicles are disappearing at the same fucking place within 30 minutes of them? They all parking on each other over there? There's no room to park over there. And then you would find out, okay, who came home at 1:30, 1:56, and 2:26? Who are these people? Once you find out, then you're going to use something called the geofence, which they did. You're not going to find out who came into that area a little earlier. Why would you set up your geofence from 3 to 5? That makes absolutely no sense to me. You'd want to set up your geofence a hell of a lot earlier than that. Also, you have the capabilities. The FBI is in here. You're going to go back and get as much as you can. And that's what tells me that they would have done something like that. And is that illegal? Because if you went back over the course of time and did it right off the rip and was looking in over however many day period they could go back to seeing what numbers are coming into that area that shouldn't be there, or that I would just think that if you're going to be doing that, that you would definitely be looking at, especially if you thought somebody was casing the joint, that person's coming into that area a hell of a lot earlier than just waltzing up, and then you're going to sit here and tell me that when you would have been doing this, that you didn't realize that, wow, we have 3 cars that come in that don't leave. So that's people that are coming home for the night. Well, who did you talk to when you did the neighborhood canvassing that told you that they came home at night? Because let me tell you something. Nope. Every single person that we did the neighborhood canvassing said that they were either in the house that night and they were home. They didn't come home at 1:30 in the morning. They didn't come home at, 2:30 in the morning, at 1:54 in the morning. There's only one person that said that, and that's Inan Harsh. He's the only person that said that everybody else was walking on foot. Nobody said that they got dropped off, and nobody said that they came home in the middle of the night. So who the fuck are these cars that are coming back there and they're just poof? And then if they're the people that are coming home, right, then where are these undercover cars? Well, they're lying about making loops, and they're lying about what they saw. Were they in fact making actually the loops that were not the Queen Road loop, but in fact their loop was actually the Big Daddy loop, the Walenta loop? That's what it looks like to me, is that these undercovers were actually making what I refer to as the Walenta loop. And that would be covering, being on Taylor and then going down by like Ridge and coming back up and around and being back in that area and then coming out around Walenta to Taylor, like that type of loop. How do we never see the Fusion vehicle leave King Road area on 1112 cam? Which car is it? I just gave you guys all of these. So here we go. I went through every single one. What car is it? There is no car because there is nobody leaving. The only car that leaves that's unaccounted for of arriving is the Dodge van. There is nobody making a loop around. The freaking pizza delivery car that makes the Queen Road loop. See, Queen Road loop. SUV enters King and drops 3 people off at 1127. So that didn't go. Small SUV enters King, drives to 1127 area, backs up for 16 seconds, then leaves at 11135. The Ford truck into 1112 parking lot. 4 girls get out, stays there. Eric logs off of the Uber. White truck parks in front of 1112 cam on road. Single male walks to 1118. Elantra looking vehicle comes past 1112 cam and goes to 1127, back up and leaves. Car enters and passes 1112 King House, but is not seen on 1320 Linda Lane footage. Okay. Car enters, pulls to 1127, stays 2 minutes, and gets 3 people from 119, walk out front door, leaves. Car pulls in. Oh, that car leaves. Work truck with a toolbox goes to Jack D's area. Lights come on at Jack D's with curtain. They were there for like about 3 minutes and 50 seconds, I thought. That's at 149 to 152. That white truck with the toolbox, very distinctive truck. Whose is it? Well, that car leaves. Okay. Car enters and goes towards 112 King Road house. Never seen on Lynn Lane's footage. That's at 154, which is right before Eric Gower drops Kaylee and Maddie off. And he says that he sees a sedan parked off on the left side across from 112 house. See, Eric, that's what, when I say see the 14th, or when I say C14, that's me referring to this 14th line, or this 14th right there. It's because it has something to do with that. Like, could that be that vehicle that pulled off? But you guys, these vehicles right here that are all coming in, they're not leaving. The 132 car doesn't leave yet. The 154 car doesn't leave yet because we have nothing leaving without entering. And nothing is going back up into that area. Peyton Rossi dropping off Jack D to a T right after Kaylee. Okay. Eric pulls off Taylor to clean the back seat off or pick somebody up or talks to an undercover. The Jacob report number 10, MPD plainclothes officer report is completely destroyed by the 112 cam. Completely upended. Eric Gower's car at 1126 is there for 1 minute. Doesn't pick up anybody. Then this is, it's very interesting because that's right before. Then Dylan texts him, like, are you driving? Like, it's like, did you already get into his vehicle? And are you writing? Are you driving afterwards? Who the fuck knows? But it's very important to take a look at that. Eric Gower then texts Dylan back at 2:13, but police and Dylan say that she is sleeping by this time. Bullshit. Sleeping within what, 3 minutes? Fuck out of here. Meanwhile, Eric was just back there for a minute. Car comes in and passes by 112 King Road house, and based off of the lights, we believe it parks halfway up on the left because it does not get seen on the lane camera. So 226, 154, 132. No car has left. Undercovers full of shit. 229, for the first time ever, there is not a car that comes in, but rather the first motion that we see is actually a car leaving. It's like, hey, I'm leaving. That's at 229, 11 seconds. I'm going to do as thorough as a job as I can with even more, like something that was missed. If you guys find something, 234. This is just a car seen on Molenta. Does not have anything to do with coming and going. And that's me over here talking about undercover land as well. Either that's Tyler coming home from the bar, potentially, because we have to get him home. So how did he come home? Was he on Taylor at first? How did he even get home? And Taylor was going to ask him when you got home, was Matt there? Who else was there? Was Simon there? How did you get home? Who drove you home? Did you drive home? What time did you get home? Then 236 enters 112 cam and goes to Jack D's area. This is a car and leaves within 28 seconds. And it's ride share possibly. We can't see if anybody's getting in or getting out. Car at 240 seen traveling north on Molenta. Again, this is towards campus. Matt Moyer in his interview says that I had early training. So I left the house around 2:30 or 3. Well, so here you go. You have a 2:40 and 33-second option because the car is traveling north on Molenta towards campus, and then is seen on Linda Lane 13:20 within a minute. So I'm possibly giving that to him because that possibility is still there. Now at 2:48 and 10 seconds, a car enters 1112 camera, passes the 1122 King Road house, and is very noisy and parks Queen Road parking lot over there, and we see it on the cameras. And it does not move. It stays. Okay? Then a couple minutes will go by. No cars come into the King Road area. However, lights can be seen on the 112 camera, and this is what starts this whole undercover, we're going to get these guys leaving. So there's 2 cars, though, that are involved, one of which is 1,000% because the body cams come on, is the car number 2 is at the whites already. Now, when did it get at the Whites? We're going to travel back and get all that. But the car number 1, car number 2, that's all being handled at the Whites parking lot. Then the body cam comes on. And after the body cam comes on, then the car that made that U-turn, we think that that's the car that then is seen traveling on Taylor East towards Blake, makes a left on Blake, and heads towards the town area versus, sorority fratville over there. The undercover body cam catches a light colored SUV on the body cam at 2:58 and 33 seconds. Body cam north Walenta, east on Taylor, passing in background from body cam, black truck. Again, since Matt Moyer said that he was, he left between 2:30 and 3, were those kids actually leaving from Matt Moyer's and walked through? Because the one kid said that he was at Matt's, which then, for whatever reason, Matt wants to say that he left his house between 2:30 and 3. Okay, well then you only have so many options, which what makes sense is that if all these kids were actually at his house for whatever reason, he wants to say when those kids left and they were on foot, Matt's over here and he wants to say, oh, I left too and I had to go do some training stuff. And so I'm only writing these as possibilities for Matt. Or did Matt actually not go to any training and he was there? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But Matt, for whatever, according to the guys that got pulled over in the body cam in the Banfield, said that they were at their friend Matt's. They could have been just making up a name. Kids do that. So that's also a possibility. But I think it's really interesting timing. If you look at when right here, this time is at 3:00. And right before that is the kids walking. And then Matt, I don't know if any of those kids were able to text in time to say, hey, we just got stopped. And then Matt's getting the fuck out of there with whatever they have party-wise. I have no idea, but I'm giving people grace here to say, based off of what you claimed, I'm trying to find where it fits. I'm not over here trying to prove anybody is a liar. I'm actually trying to corroborate what the fuck it is that you've said. And we have cameras, so we should be able to do that. However, it's not happening. Now, everything that we see on the body cam, that's why I've kept that over here. So all of this stuff that I've just mentioned between 2:52 and 3:12, you guys, nobody drives back into that area from 2:48 until the next time is at 3:12. And actually, it's Eric Gower again. Eric Gower. And you actually see, that's the body cam car heading west on Taylor towards King. You see that on the body cam. Now, 2 cam sees Eric Gower enter and drives back to 1127, drop off potential, but for sure picks up 2 people and leaves at 3:14. This would also corroborate what these girls are talking about. These girls in that area talking about getting, we were probably about like 30 minutes behind Maddie and Kaylee. Well, Maddie, they're thinking 2:00. That's one of the 2:30 drop-offs right here. You have this. It also could be potentially him. But you have cars going back there. Whatever. But now, when the bar closes at 2, back when I bartended and didn't own a bar and just bartended, now we have to start talking about, how does Adam Lauda get home? How does Adam get home that night? Now, every time that I ever bartended, I think except for maybe once, okay, did I ever leave my vehicle at the bar? Like, no. So when does Adam come home? Where does Adam park when he comes home? If you're a detective, wouldn't you want to know when Adam comes home? Huh. They didn't seem to give a fuck. Because when does Adam come home? What kind of car does Adam drive? You guys, it's not that late, trust me. The bar closed at 2. How long do you think it takes to clean up and do all that stuff? Trust me when I tell you this. There's no way that you're done closed at 2 and you think that I'm going to be working till when? Promise. Guess you can guess why. Guess Ann Taylor. Ann Taylor has Mark Trivial on her witness list. So did the state. What are you going to ask Mark? Well, I want to know what time these people clocked out. I want to know what time Adam left. Only reason why I want to know this is because if Adam had a car there, right, he has to drive it on home to King. So where is it? Which one of these is Adam? And I just don't see a car that does what I would envision it doing, which is coming home. Well, there is one car that I see doing what I envision doing, and it's the last car that comes there that they claim is suspect vehicle. If I'm coming home, I'm going to try to park as close as I can to where I live, right? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to go over by the 1127 house. Well, do we have any car that's going over by 1127 house that then realizes, I can't park. Now I get to back up. Okay. And then these are my options: to drive away from where that parking lot is at the top of the street. And I don't know who's allowed to park there and if you have to have a permit. Okay. Or do I have to go up by where 1122 is and drive that way to try to find a spot back in that area? Back and around. I had to do that every single time at night when I bartended, right, to come home. And that's when I said, fuck this. I'm going to purchase right by my house. There was this little lot and I paid $50 a month to park in it. And back then, I was like, but it was worth every penny of it. I'm a chick. I'm going to park right in front of my fucking house. All right. Especially on college campuses, when you leave a spot, if you think you're coming home late, all of the spots are taken. You're not getting a parking spot at 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You're just not. But what car can we identify is that it's Adam's coming back home from work and parking? And I'm telling you guys right now that these are your options. Like, this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with either him parking and us not being able to see it because he's parking on Taylor, or these are your options for Adam. Adam can be the 132 car. Adam could be the 154 car. Adam could be the 226 car. But what I can tell you then is we do not see, so you have the 132, 154, and 226. Where is there then a gentleman that's walking down to walk back to the house, unless you're walking through the backyards of places, right? Now, I can promise you this too, that if Jack D needs to get a ride from somebody like a Peyton Rossi to come pick him up, at almost 2 o'clock in the morning, that tells me that Adam wasn't, we can basically eliminate 132 in my opinion and 154 in my opinion, because he would have given Jack D a ride. Capiche? Good. So eliminate those. Now we're dealing with 226. Well, if I was just going to be leaving at 226, hey, if you want to wait for me, Jack, I'll be out of here in like 30 minutes. I can give you a ride. Or if my friend's like fucking hammered, right? Like, no, you need to get the fuck out of here. Or they may have their own rules that nobody kicks it at the bar. When it's time to go, everybody has to leave except for, if you work there. So, and I'm going to go ahead and toss 226 out the window, because I think that if he in fact closed down the bar and had to clean a little bit and do his drawer and stuff like that, I don't think he's getting home by 226. I think that that's a tight squeeze. So now that we've eliminated those based off of logic, now we're dealing with what? Nothing's even available for us to do until we get where? Oh, to the person that parks the vehicle and is unaccounted for leaving at the fourth time coming through. Wow, Lana, imagine that. Wow, that's a pretty good. Wow. Wow. Say that one more time, Lana. Yeah. There is no vehicle that you can put on Jack D. Okay. I mean, not Jack D, but Adam, except for the car that they are labeling as suspect vehicle 1 on the 4th and final trip. Is that, you understand? And now think about it. That fourth loop in, that person looks like they are trying to park. Okay. They are trying to park all over. Now, based off of the lights, we've come to determine that for whatever reason, everybody wants to label that the fourth car in is in fact the car that's speeding away at 420. And I'm over here like, the fuck, what? This is why I say that's wild to me. Because of where the car is coming from. Based off of the lights. If you're going to use the light, it's methodology. You can't pick and choose how you're going to use the lights reflecting off of different parts in the neighborhood. And then, oh, well, we didn't use it for that one, though. What? No, you have to. It's a methodology. It's across the board. You have to do this. As long as you do the same thing with everything, that's a solid methodology. Okay? You can't then say, oh, wait, this doesn't fit. So we just didn't do that with that one. So where the lights are, oh, there's also another person. There's also another vehicle. The 429 vehicle. The 429 vehicle. If for some reason Adam parked in the lot where his friends all lived, I just park there at night, and then I know to go and get my car and move it out. And when I come down in the morning, I go and grab it, and then I come back and pull it up to where I live over, to move it out of, like, my friends over there at 1122. They let me park my car there at night, and then I come and I move it then in the morning to a spot because everybody knows that there's nowhere to park. So I have my friends let me park my car there, which makes so much sense that Adam, and it was a normal occasion because he always bartended on Saturday nights, that he parked his vehicle in our lot because there's plenty of space. Adam is Jack D's roommate. Wow, doesn't that make sense? Like, that's right. Fuck yeah. I'm going to talk to my friends here. Hey, and then out of the deal, yeah, I'll get you guys some beers and stuff when you're in. I mean, come on. That's 1000% what would happen there. So you have a 429 option, which would be Jack, or which would be Adam coming and pulling right into the house, parking, and then walking again, though, through the backyard because nobody walked down in the middle of the road. So when he got out, he just walked through the backyard. Now, here's my list because this is going to be a part 2, but I just wanted us to get started here. Here's my list that I compiled. You have to account for Inan Harsh. You have to account for the video game guy because it is not the 429 car that comes back there. Okay. The cat lady, which we've now been able to eliminate because that car never comes there, parks, and then the car that's leaving at 423 is 1000% not a vehicle that just had got there a little bit before that to check on her cats to then leave. Okay. So we have Molly coming back there twice unaccounted for. There is no vehicle for Molly. Unless you're going to say that Molly is one of the three, and then Molly got into the van. And that's going to be part 2 when we get into who left in that van that pulls off at 2:29 in the morning. Well, your option is that if Molly came back there and is one of those vehicles, could she be the 224 jumping into then the van? Okay, because she's rolling around there, hanging out with her fucking amazing friends. You have 2 to 3 loops by the undercovers, Molly twice. This woman who the police try to talk into that this cat lady who worked came home to check on cats. Absolutely ridiculous. The video game guy who's a frat boy that they tried to get, hey, yep, I came home at 4:30, and so that they could label whose vehicle that was at 4:29. Then we got Jack D coming home with Peyton Rossi, found that. You also have Jack D's roommates that are coming home in. So the cops would just be going through and being able to assign. Guys, not that difficult. Kaylee and Maddie, we got them. Okay. The Alpha Fees that lived and that was the chain link fence. Okay. There's 2 houses right there. It's next to the house with the camera. All of those people have to be accounted for. And that's why they're all on Ann Taylor's witness list. The Dempseys of the world. The Ashley Detour. Bailey Dempster. Aiden McGinty. Going down my list. Deborah Duff. Making sure I get all those girls. Kai Davis. Martha Smith. Mateo Milan. Simon Getty. That's Taylor Zorno. Z Arno. Tim DeWolf. Last person to allegedly see Ethan. Tyler Moyer. I think I listed them. And then obviously anybody that's on the states, they didn't have to list everybody, but so then you have now all the girls that came home at the 1112 house. There's a guy in a backpack. The girls that came home in the truck, but then the girls that left in that vehicle. So then you have all of these people that you did the neighborhood canvassing with, that are talking about not a single person except for Inan Harsh said that he came home and he worked late and whatever. But who in any of those neighborhood canvasses said that they came home super late? Absolutely fucking nobody. In fact, everybody said that they were home early and that they were walking if they were out and about. A couple people said that they left, or one person said that they went hunting, or their boyfriend did, and that he left early in the morning. But not a single person was talking about how they were coming home in the middle of the night. So who are these people? Who's coming home? Whose are these cars? You got to assign them to somebody. And the reason it's important and what you would use is that they weren't assigned to anybody. And so that car speeding off at 4:20 and 40 seconds, that car comes from a very specific area. And it's almost an area where the 3 cars disappear. And so I believe that the car that's speeding away at 4:20 and some change, I would say look at those 3 vehicles that come in that area that poof disappear. And now remember, at 3:50 in the morning, they have this figure walking that was, oh, that's Jack D. And we're going to use that because that person at 3:50 in the morning just is never seen on another camera. Well, at 3:52 in the morning, the Undercover said that he was done with his job for that night at 3:52. So take this spreadsheet, do with what you want. We'll make more additions, but that's where this is going to end for today. But the bottom line is, guys, is that there are not enough vehicles. In fact, we are so depleted of vehicles. Like, we don't have enough for anything. Like, nothing. These vehicles are accounted for. And Molly is fucking lying. The Undercovers, oh, you turned off your lights? We don't have them leaving, though. We have nobody leaving. If they're the 3 cars that come in and just kind of like shut their lights off and they're making loops back there and just continue to keep parking over on the side across from the first floor of the Queen Road apartments where we were doing the neighborhood canvassing, if that's what they were doing, you guys, this is wild. This is so crazy. This is so crazy. It's in front of our faces. It's a camera. It's running 24/7. There is nobody coming back from that Queen Road area. It's wild. It truly is. So thank you so much for joining in today. Going to give a shout out to those supers. Heather, thank you so much. William, thank you so much. Crime Taurus, let's do this. Thank you so much. Hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down. You're going to have an opinion. Make yourself known. Let's help Alana reach her goal. Thank you. Help. Benny Rose. Murky, let's go. TNT, let's go. Nana, Robin, thank you so much. Let's put Moscow on the map. Put him somewhere. Oh, really? Thank you there, Carson. The mom of Carson Hockey. If you guys want to see some trick shots, her son's got it going on. Go check it out. William Tardy, look at that. Back to backer. Christina, thank you so much. William coming in hard with the wrench. Is it Hub died? I don't know. Hub diddle. Oh, back to back. William, thank you so much. William, look at you. You're like, I'm just sitting over here pressing my buttons. Allie Tally, what a name. William. Allie Tally, thank you. Donna, thank you. And then Deborah, thank you so much. Look at those super stickers. Great show, great info. Great job, Mark. Mark, how many hours do you think we put into that? I mean, overall, it's been like, deep in the hundreds, but we're going to add some more. We're definitely going to add some more. But if this doesn't wake people up to say, okay, Lana just literally did this in front of our faces, man, and plotted this all. And this makes no sense. Yeah. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Peace out. Thank you so much.